All right, let me just get right to it. There is a seemingly valid accusation. I want to be very clear. It's not DOA himself, but an associate, Chi, and that Chi was hanging out with a file. So I did some preliminary investigation, and excuse any background noise. It is what it is. So I looked into this, and there does seem to be some plausibility. We're going to leave it there that it is plausible. So what is happening? Who is this guy? Why? How do we know this? Okay, so, and again, let me be very clear that we're getting into some very weird, dangerous territory, which I did not do, but the cat is out of the bag. So somebody allegedly hooked up whatever Chi's name to her image, yada, 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 looked into her background. And this guy seems to be the guy. So what happened? And it's not clickbait. I looked it up. It's apparently a guy featured on the Chris Hansen thing. For those who don't know, Hansen did this thing, which I thought was anyway, I watched a few episodes. So the basic gist is Hansen would, quote, catch a predator and then would come on screen and do whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then the predator would be, and then they would show text or whatever, say, oh, no, you were trying to meet this person. You thought you were, da-da-da-da-da. And then the police would usually arrest the person and da-da-da-da-da. So that's just, and Lauren apparently was caught on camera. Again, with anything, it's like, it's the exact same person, but it's going to stick out. So again, I'm going to be very careful following the YouTube rules. But the first name is Lauren, which is going to stick out because I just did one Google search and was like, whoa, there you are. That's the person. So now the question, I think, goes to DOA. How will he react? This happened roughly half a day ago. So as far as I know, he's not responded. And so why is this a problem? Well, it wouldn't be a problem, frankly, with other people because good or bad, right? You can have a defense there saying, like, this is the DOA logic. So let's say I'm in a restaurant and there happens to be a file, just whatever, a few feet, then he would literally go, why are you with that file in the restaurant? And the answer is because we occupy the same physical space. Doesn't mean anything, but that's not DOA. And to be fair and not ridicule him, he did actually find a file within the, I don't even know what to call it, the trucker January 6 people. Again, I don't want to mislabel people. I guess we'll call it the trucker January 6 people. Anyway, so among those people, he did actually find a real file. So I want to be careful that most of the time when he does the file thing, he's just being stupid and silly. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a thing he does to attract attention, of course, get some money. Again, I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm just saying that is what happens. He just keeps screaming, file, and after a while it just gets like, you're just saying this. It doesn't seem to mean anything. So, okay, but fine, that's your standard. If that is your standard, so this is a problem for her and for him because they do use that logic saying if you are even remotely associated to the file, that brings your credibility into question about who you are, where you stand, da-da-da-da-da. So is this the same thing? And to that, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't have any real deep connection to Chi or to DOA. I've been in some of her chats. She puts out some pretty funny videos on Aaron. That is about it. I know this was a big deal that Aaron made that somehow, and again, I think she was just joking. She was saying that she was going to contact one of Aaron's teenage daughters. I take it for what it is. It's a joke. However, again, using the DOA logic, this sounds more disturbing now in retrospect. Again, I'm not saying this against her. I'm just saying that that is the logic that they keep using. I don't think he can avoid at least answering the question. It was like, okay, well, if you don't think this brings her into question or her reputation, then why do you bring it into question in these other cases? Why do you think that's even a thing? And again, we have to know more about Chi herself and what is this relationship? Is he just goofing around? This thing looks pretty silly. It looks like it's a parody or something. Does that excuse her? Maybe, maybe not. Again, we just need more information. But the basic gist does actually appear to be valid. Namely, this guy, Lauren, is indeed what he is. Then again, we have to do more double checking on Lauren. How bad is this? One time, has it been a pattern of behavior with him, so on and so forth. But needless to say, it does not look good. I mean, obviously, you being on the Chris Hansen show for this thing in particular, it's just going to raise a lot of alarm bells. And obviously, with DOA, it's going to be the issue of double standard. Namely, do you really believe what you're saying? Or is this just rhetoric that you're spewing around? You don't even really believe this stuff. You're like, yeah. For the other side, they've got files. Everyone seems to have a file. Dan has the files. Riddle has files. I have the files. Whatever. Anyone he doesn't like, Aaron has files. But the dilemma, of course, is in some cases this is true because Aaron does have a background that includes the files, and it is right for DOA to raise questions. But we need to try to be a little consistent. So if he thinks that the files and Aaron's background put into question his leadership, who he really is, what he's up to, is he really trying to help victims? I agree, that's questionable. This is no less a problem for him if he claims he's standing up for victims, especially female victims, but he's willing to let, quote, a file slide because, well, it's a friend of a friend, and therefore that is the law he's going to follow. Namely, if you're friendly enough, that's enough. But if you're hostile, then, oh, you become a file, or profile, or near a file, or yada, yada, yada. It is getting fairly silly. We're just finding the most weirdest thing in everyone's backgrounds. Obviously, beyond a certain point, it's just going to be like, well, clearly nobody really cares about the issue. You're just using the thing to get a rhetorical leg up on the other person. I mean, for whatever reason, DOA keeps bringing up to me, like, oh, you know that guy, well, there's murder in the background. It's like, okay. And that's not enough. We need more information. So how serious is this? I don't know at the moment. I'm going to have to do more digging, but the initial steps do seem credible that this guy is what he is. She is next to him. Doesn't seem like she's being coerced to be next to this person. Again, is this a one-time event? Do they have a sustained relationship? But obviously it does look bad that you're saying this one thing rhetorically against Aaron, that he has a file problem, which he does do with Brett/Tommy Scoville. He does have a file problem. And for some of the new people, I will provide the receipts throughout this whole video. Yes, Tommy Scoville, we now know, overwhelming evidence, is guilty of a crime against a 15-year-old. He was 17 years at the time, just to be accurate. However, it's pretty alarming. And how much did Aaron really know? We don't know. We don't know, but we can suspect, unfortunately, the worst, that he knew something and just didn't care at all. He even admitted blatantly he knew a lot of things about DOA, like, oh, there's questions about DOA. I really didn't care. So it's like, So ironically, if this is true, that this if this is a deep association with Chi and this person, this predator, well, this actually doesn't help Aaron at all because you welcomed DOA in. So you're still stuck. If anything, this actually ironically makes DOA's point that you would welcome him and you didn't ask any questions because DOA was obedient and he was following orders, doing propaganda work. And I know it sounds crazy, but yes, at one time, DOA and Maryland were actively doing covert operations together. Aaron was having a good old time laughing at the whole thing. So by his own standard, Aaron has literally had active predators and people who protect predators and cover up predator crimes. And then is still crying to Google that, hey, why isn't my charity status being vindicated? Oh, I don't know, the predator thing could be a big problem here. Like, Google's not stupid. I'm sure they've done some searching like, oh, yeah, you're that guy. Well, we're going to have to keep a distance from you for a little while, you know? But again, this is an ongoing story. I'm going to have to do more double checking, but the first steps do seem valid. I'm going to leave it there. You know, a lot of issues here with Google and privacy and YouTube. But I will try to do a little bit more for the channel members. If you want to support the channel, we will get into some more details. This is pretty horrifying no matter how you look at it. And again, trying to be as neutral as possible. I have no issue with Chi. I have no issue even with DOA. I just report what I see, and if he is doing this, victimizing people, that gets reported. If he actually does good things, that gets reported too. And he did find an actual predator in one case, although I think he keeps exaggerating that one case to seem like he's superhero, Superman guy. But I try to play as fair as possible, as neutral as possible. But if I fail, but I try. And there we are.